The tavern buzzed with a din of laughter and spilled ale, but Lyra, a young bard with eyes the colour of storm clouds, heard only the fading notes of a wistful melody. The old musician who had played it spoke of a gem called the Summerstone, a relic of forgotten times, a crystal that breathed joy into the soul. In her heart, scarred by the endless skirmishes that fractured her homeland, a fragile hope flickered. Could such a wonder exist? Could it mend the broken spirit of her land? The old man smiled, a map creased like well-loved parchment unfolding between his gnarled fingers. "The stone lies in the heart of the whispering woods," he whispered, "guarded by riddles and rhymes." Her fingers traced the faded lines, a winding river, a great oak split by lightning, and a circle of ancient standing stones humming with forgotten power. It was a fool's errand, many would say. Lyra, however, carried a fool's stubborn hope woven tight with the worn strings of her lute. The sun dipped below the tree line as Lyra stepped into the whispering woods. Silver moonlight turned birch trees into ethereal dancers, their leaves whispering secrets she couldn't decipher. A mournful hoot startled her, and from the shadows stepped a creature of enormous eyes and dappled feathers. "You seek the Stone of Joy," the great owl hooted, its amber gaze fixed upon her. "A curious quest for one so young." "My world bleeds, Ancient One," she confessed, her voice barely a murmur against the sigh of the leaves. "Hope is a fragile flower amidst war." The owl dipped its great head as if in understanding. "Then walk softly and listen well," it advised. "The woods hear more than men ever will." The great owl, with a final rustle of feathers, melted back into the shadows. Lyra walked on, her senses on high alert. The snap of a twig made her spin, lute clutched to her chest as if it were a shield. A flash of white bounded forward, a flurry of leaves and laughter echoing in its wake. A creature, no taller than her knee, stood before her. Its eyes glittered with emerald mischief, and its fur, woven with sunbeams and moss, shimmered in the dappled moonlight. "A wanderer in my woods," the creature chirped, its voice high and sweet. "What news do you carry upon the wind?" "I am Lyra," she said, kneeling so as not to intimidate the tiny being, "and I seek the Summerstone." The creature, a forest sprite it seemed, tilted its head, ears twitching with amusement. "Riddles and rhymes lead the way," it sang, skipping around her in a circle. "The rivers bend, where shadows play." With a final twirl and a merry giggle, the sprite vanished, leaving Lyra puzzling over its cryptic words. The journey was less a march than a wandering guided by the sprite's playful hints. Sometimes it appeared amidst the ferns, always with a riddle that tested not her strength but her wit. She found the river's bend, silver scales of fish flashing beneath the clear water. A moss-covered stone bore a carving, a single oak, seemingly identical to a dozen others surrounding her. Then a glint of gold caught her eye. An acorn lay nestled at the base of the largest oak, splitting its shell to reveal a tiny, heart-shaped key. "The oak split by the summer storm," she murmured, remembering the old map. A hidden niche within the mighty trunk awaited her key. With a click, it opened, revealing a worn scroll and a silver locket dangling from a delicate chain. Her fingers hovered over the scroll, curiosity battling apprehension. The words within could be a path forward or a cruel trick. Taking a deep breath, she unrolled the parchment, the weathered script flowing into verses. "Where sunlight fades and shadows dwell, seek the stones where ancient tales compel. A heart of silver, a whispered name, unlock the song and joy reclaim." Lyra's pulse echoed in her ears. The standing stones, and the locket, a heart of silver, perhaps the key it spoke of. She slipped the chain over her head, the locket resting cool against her skin. The whispering woods seemed to still, holding their breath in anticipation. The trek to the standing stones was short, the moonlight her only guide. Looming shadows and half-whispered sounds made her heart race, but she remembered the warmth of the sprite and the wisdom of the owl. This was not a battlefield, but a test of courage in a different form. The stones soared upward, rough and imposing, each etched with symbols she couldn't decipher. Hesitantly, she touched the locket to the nearest stone. A flicker of light, so brief she thought she imagined it, ran across its surface. But then a faint melody began to rise, a single note joined by another, then another, until a shimmering chorus of sound filled the clearing. One by one she touched the locket to each stone, the melody growing stronger, brighter, weaving warmth into the cool night air. Then Silence fell, leaving only the soft rustle of leaves and the frantic thump of her own heart. A shimmer in the centre of the stone circle drew her eye. A glow gentle as dawn pulsed within a shallow depression on the largest stone. As she stepped closer, a warm wave washed over her, chasing away the shadows clinging to her heart. It was not a single gem she found, but countless shards of quartz, their crystal depths reflecting the moonlight like 1,000 captured stars. Each shard sang with a soft, joyful hum that set her very bones vibrating in sympathy. This was the Summerstone, not an object of power but a symphony of hope. Carefully, she gathered a handful of shards, their song brightening even within her cupped palms. The old musician had spoken of bringing the stone's joy to the people. Yet, here, amidst the ancient stones and the gentle whispers of the forest, Lyra knew that was not its true purpose. Lyra returned to the river, the owl waiting amidst the shadows. "The stone, young one? Have you found it?" "Perhaps," she said with a smile, opening her palm to show the glittering shards, "but I believe it's not only for finding, but for listening." The owl hooted, a low contemplative sound. "Wise words, little bard. Perhaps joy lies not in possession, but in sharing." At the edge of the woods, nestled in a meadow, sat a village small and weary. Windows were dark, and laughter seemed a distant memory. Lyra sat upon a gnarled tree root, her lute a warm weight in her lap. Gently she plucked a tune inspired by the stones, the sprite's riddles and the owl's ancient wisdom. Then, as if called forth by the melody, she sprinkled the quartz shards upon the soft grass, their light catching on dew like fallen stars. Notes flowed into starlight, starlight into the very soil, and a subtle but undeniable shift rippled through the air. One by one the darkened windows flickered to life. First a curious face, then another, and another still, drawn not by force, but by the gentle pull of a melody filled with warmth and a strange budding hope. Children ventured out, eyes wide with wonder, followed by parents and elders, their faces a mixture of caution and a yearning for something long forgotten. Lyra played on. Each note carried a memory of the woods, the owl's deep gaze, the sprite's playful laughter echoing in the breeze. As the villagers gathered around, wary but entranced, Lyra began to sing. Her voice, usually strong and clear, took on a softer timbre, weaving not of battles but of sunlit glades, babbling brooks, and the enduring heart of the land they called home. No promises of victory or riches filled her song, yet within it lay the echo of a resilient spirit, a gentle defiance against despair. It was not a song that demanded joy, but one that reminded them where joy could be found, in the shared warmth of a hearth, in the laughter of children, in the stubborn rise of a flower amidst the stones. As the last note faded, silence hung heavy between them. Then from the crowd, an old woman stepped forward, tears tracing the lines on her face. With a trembling hand she picked up one of the glowing quartz shards. A hesitant smile bloomed as she held it to the sky. Another villager followed, and another, until the night was filled with the soft glow of the Summerstone, reflected not just in the crystal fragments, but in the awakening light within their eyes. Lyra's quest, she realized, was not to wield a magical artifact, but to be the bearer of a melody that reminded broken souls how to sing again. The Summerstone had not mended her world with a single touch, but had planted the seeds of its own mending. Days turned into weeks, and Lyra stayed among the villagers. The shards of the Summerstone remained where they'd fallen, twinkling reminders woven into the fabric of their lives. They planted gardens in forgotten corners, sharing seeds and stories like long-hidden treasure. Faded tapestries were mended with vibrant threads, their colours echoing the songs Lyra taught them. The land surrounding their village still bore the scars of conflict, but within their circle of light, a different battle was being waged, a battle for the simple joys that built the bedrock of a community. There was work to be done always, but there was also laughter, ringing freely for the first time in ages, and the shared warmth of a fireside on a chilly night. One evening, as the first stars shimmered above the treetops, Lyra sat beside the old woman, her fingers tracing constellations on the gnarled bark of an ancient oak. "You carry a heavy heart," the old woman said, her voice soft. "Though you've brought joy to us, your own song remains unfinished." Lyra looked up, a flicker of vulnerability in her storm-grey eyes. She had found purpose here, a sense of belonging, but a yearning still echoed within her for the wider world, for the countless other villages locked in the grip of war. This gentle haven was a start, but not her journey's end. "You must carry the song," the old woman urged, placing a warm hand over Lyra's. "The world needs more than one voice of hope." A spark ignited in Lyra's heart, brighter than any starlight. With the sprite's mischievous grin upon her lips and the owl's wisdom warming her soul, she slung her lute across her back and bid her newfound friends a bittersweet farewell. Her path no longer followed faded maps, but the whispers of the wind, the echoes of laughter in abandoned villages, the mournful ring of an unsung song. The whispering woods now seemed less a maze and more a familiar, watchful companion, the wise owl and playful sprite fleeting guides as she ventured deeper into shadowed lands. News of the village in the meadow spread, carried on the tongues of travellers and whispered on the breeze. Some scoffed at the notion of joy as a weapon against war, but the desperate, the weary, those with nothing left in their hearts. But the stubborn flicker of hopes awaited her coming. In each broken village, each fractured town, the pattern repeated. The Summerstone shards were not a cure-all, but a catalyst, a first note upon which to rebuild their own fractured melodies. Old feuds were put aside, not out of grand forgiveness, but from the shared necessity of sowing a field, of building a roof strong enough to weather the storm. Sometimes, in the dead of night, Lyra's own hope would waver. Would these scattered pockets of light be enough against the tide of darkness? Then she would remember the weathered faces in the village of her beginning, the fierce determination in their eyes, the unyielding melody of their shared laughter. And so she would sing again, not to princes or warriors, but to bakers and blacksmiths, to mothers weary with worry, and to children dreaming of brighter days ahead. Her songs were not battle anthems inspiring glorious charges, but enduring whispers of shared sorrows and resilient joy. The years drifted by, marked by the changing seasons more than by calendars. Lyra's hair, once the midnight black of a storm cloud, was now touched with silver, each strand a testament to roads travelled and songs shared. Her lute bore the marks of countless journeys, but its voice was richer, deeper, carrying more than just notes, but the echoes of 1,000 resilient hearts. Word of the wandering bard who kindled joy had travelled far, even to the halls of kings and the stone fortresses of warlords. Some sent riders seeking to possess her power, to turn her songs into weapons. Others, weary of endless battles on blood-soaked fields, sent messengers bearing pleas for peace, for a taste of the simple joy she offered. Yet Lyra chose neither gilded cages nor the seats of power. Her place was amidst the whispering trees, her audience those with calloused hands and hopeful eyes. It was in their villages that change truly took root, not in sweeping decrees, but in the shared labour of mending, planting, and the rebuilding of spirit alongside the rebuilding of homes. One crisp autumn morning, a figure cloaked in forest green waited at the edge of the whispering woods. The mischievous glint in those eyes still held the magic of sunlight, but the years had painted a touch of gentle wisdom upon them. "You've grown soft, little bard," the sprite chided, a note of fondness in its voice. "They'll make statues of you one day." Lyra laughed, the sound as bright and clear as a mountain stream. "Perhaps, but a living song is a far better legacy." And sing she did, until her voice cracked with age, and her fingers could no longer pluck the strings. But her songs lived on, carried by the children who'd grown tall, by the villages that had turned into thriving towns, by a land stitched back together with threads of simple joys and unyielding hope. The wars eventually ended, not in a single glorious victory, but in the slow dawning that a field sown bore more precious fruit than a field of the fallen. And though Lyra's name faded into legend, the echoes of that simple song, the song of shared sorrows, hopeful whispers, and the enduring spirit of everyday hearts echoed on, long and enduring.